Hi everyone, welcome back to UXUI Advocate. My name is Kristen Lagon, and I'm going to give you an update on what's been going on over the last week now. So we're on week number 8. But yeah, so this past week we have focused more on like the UI side of UXUI, so more interface related content. We focused a lot on typography, our homework assignments over the next, I think, 5 weeks, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, yeah, the next 5 weeks are going to focus on redesigning a government agency. Super fun. So we are doing a lot of like understanding redesign concepts, focusing on still applying the design process, but using the design process to redesign an existing website. And so we talked about UI design process, usability heuristics, understanding how accessibility and functionality and inclusive design can be used to benefit our users, understanding that users come from a wide range of different abilities, and being able to design websites that incorporate all of the different abilities that users have, because we never really know who's going to be using. We have an idea who's going to be using our websites, but there's always going to be people or users that have different levels of need, and so it's important for us to do, when we're going through the design process, that we make sure that we include different elements that allow a variety of users to use our website and functionally. Especially when redesigning a government agency, there's like particular protocols that you have to follow, which I didn't know about. That's like a legal, like there's laws associated with accessibility in government websites. So we have to make sure that we are including those when we're redesigning these government websites. So just like the last set of homework, I have a group that I'm in. It's like 4 or 5 of us in a group, and we're doing a project together, but then I'm also doing a project on the side by myself, and so our group project website is like the State Office of Risk Management. Super random, we didn't really have much of a choice. And then I'm gonna do the Cherokee County, they have like a government agency website that there's a lot to change and a lot to edit, so I'm excited to kind of get started on that because it looks like it hasn't been touched since like 1992. Like 2005, right around the time the internet came out, so I'm excited to start with the Cherokee County Government Agency website, so that is going to be really interesting. So yes, and then we've also talked about color theory, we've talked about the color psychology and how color within just our environment makes us feel certain types of ways, and how sometimes like the overuse of color, or whether we use like different tints and different shades of color, can kind of give different perceptions to users depending on what they're engaging in within the user interface. It's really interesting. The color psychology is like, I feel like it could be a whole semester worth of content alone. So it was really interesting to kind of pack it all in a good like hour class, if that. So color theory, the components of color, that was a really big thing that we've talked about. And then we also talked about the design principles, which is like balance and proximity and symmetry and alignment, and using white space, like the use of white space or negative space within our web page to kind of help the web page breathe. It's really important. We also talked about the Gestalt Laws, which talks about, it's like 8 different principles, I believe. And it talks about all the different ways in which a user, or us, the way in which a user perceives certain things within an interface that they encounter in, or, oh my gosh, the way in which a user perceives a certain element or set of elements within a user face. So it's just interesting laws to kind of take into consideration when we're designing interfaces. So these are like understanding proximity again, and similarity, and taking into consideration how a user might perceive a certain relationship between different elements depending on the color of those elements, depending on the proximity of the elements to each other. So last little section is typography. So it's just the idea, or the study of fonts and typefaces and calligraphy and all the different types of, maybe not calligraphy, all the different types of fonts and typefaces that make up body copy and display copy and all of the different copy that's associated with print and web design and just, the fonts of the words that we read on the interfaces that we encounter. So it's actually a really interesting concept in itself. Apparently there's like typographers, like that's a job in itself, is designing typography or designing fonts and typefaces. You have classifications, 5 classifications of typography. Then you have typefaces, and you'll have a typeface that fits one of those 5 classifications. And then a typeface is just a collection of fonts. And then within those fonts, you can have different styles of fonts and different weights of fonts. A whole lot of words there that I just said, but I learned that. So that was really interesting, really cool. So yeah, that's typography. Apparently it's a whole job in itself, is creating fonts. Very wild to me. So yes, it's really intricate. Had no clue all of this went into designing a website, or just designing an interface, period, website, application, anything, any type of product. A lot goes into it, especially with the typography, and the selection of font that a user or that a designer chooses to use. And I think the last thing we talked about over the last week were grids. And so I think I've said that we used a program called Figma, among other different types of software for this bootcamp class. And within Figma, you're able to create a frame, and then within that frame you can create particular sized grids, and you can do vertical grids, horizontal grids, a mix of both. You can do squares, and by using this grid, it allows you to kind of like intricately design where you want particular elements within your web page to be. So let's say that I want a nav bar up at the top. I want a search bar usually on the right hand corner. You normally have like a login tucked around the top right as well. And then you'll have sometimes even like a hamburger menu up on the top right. Usually the top left has your it's a logo that has a hyperlink that allows a user to go back to the home page if necessary from whatever part of the website that they find themselves on. Just having all of these different elements, making a grid allows you to kind of map out where you want elements to be before you actually go in to lay down all the different key design elements. It just allows you to be more purposeful of what you're doing when you're designing. I think that's pretty good for week 8. I'm at 14 minutes right now, so I think that's good. Life update: I quit my job. So excited. I'm no longer a therapist anymore. So I am right now unemployed, and I've been unemployed for the last 2-3 days now. So I'm really enjoying it. Definitely anxious to find another job, mainly just from the money aspect, the financial aspect, which I feel like is a very normal thing to feel in a position like this. Even with money saved, it's just the idea that I'm not having a constant flow of income coming in as I'm taking it out. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm able to actually focus on UXUI stuff now. Probably in a month or so I'll focus more on job searching again. So yeah, I think that was a good recap of week 8. I'm probably forgetting things, but that's okay. And then I'll put a photo down for week 8 content once I finish all my homework assignments for this past week. So yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for watching, y'all.